What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Thalia Confessionals, and welcome back to another episode of the Silence Isn't Golden podcast. On today's episode of Thalia Thursdays, we will be looking back at yet another poem that I created in college when I was a part of a class that was in the honors program that discussed a lot of different social issues, environmental issues, and cultural issues. Now, this topic may or may not give themes about abuse and trauma, so definitely enter it with kindness for your soul. But I did want to share that at the beginning of this semester, we kicked it off by watching this documentary that was called Awake, A Dream from Standing Rock. And it covered a lot of the tensions that were rising between the government and the indigenous community of that area at the time. And I even think maybe even across the nation, really. When I was presented with this documentary along with the rest of my class, I had no idea what to expect. So I just remember taking out my notebook like I was just gonna, take notes in case we needed an assignment or something for it. And probably within a few minutes of the documentary starting, there was something that was said in the documentary that just sparked this inspiration in me. And it was something along the lines of, like, today is the day before Thanksgiving. And when someone said that in the documentary, I was kind of like, wait, what? Because it catapulted me back to my story with Ryle, which happens the day before Thanksgiving. And the way they started to describe everything that was happening to them, the tensions that were rising for them, the violence and the trauma that was happening for them as a community, it somehow also spoke and translated to how I felt on that day as I walked across campus to Ryle's dorm before everything that happened. And I just immediately started writing down literally words, images, metaphors, whatever came to mind that eventually turned into a poem by the end of that documentary. When my professor turned it off, we had a break, and I ran downstairs, ran across campus to the Starbucks where my boyfriend at the time was at. And I was like, oh my God, I just wrote a poem during this class assignment where we were watching a documentary. Oh my God, I was freaking out. And he was like, oh my God, this is so cool. This is so great. And I was like, I'm going to go back to class, but I'll be right back. He was like, okay, ran back to the classroom. Our professor released us early, and I took my laptop, went back to Starbucks, and immediately started typing every single thing that I had written down in my notebook. And it turned into this poem that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today that is entitled Thanksgiving. Now, within the probably few weeks after I wrote this poem, I asked my professor if I could share it, and I did in front of her and in front of the leader that was joining us and had actually presented us with this documentary. And them, along with the whole class, praise God, were so impressed with this poem that they actually invited me to perform it for a indigenous leader who was also a previous vice presidential candidate, and her name is Winona LaDuke. She is very, very well known in the indigenous community, in the government community. She's a huge leader. She always has been. She's a very powerful woman. And it was an honor to be able to meet her and to be able to share my poem with her, because this poem was obviously inspired, like I said, by what I had seen the indigenous community go through in this documentary. But this poem at its core is about me, is about what I went through, is about what I experienced. And I think art is such a beautiful thing that you can take something, you can take a piece of art, and 3 million different people could see different perspectives from it. So my hope is that as you guys listen to this poem today, that you are inspired. You are inspired maybe to write. You are inspired to learn. You are inspired to educate. This poem is by no means a faith-based poem, but there are little trinkets in there. And if you catch it, great. If you don't, that's okay. If it's for you, it's for you. And I'm hoping that whether or not you're a survivor, you would be able to share this with somebody who may need it. Because this week, 10 years ago, this story that I'm sharing through this poem happened. This is not just an artistic piece. This is my testimony. This happened to me, and I survived because of culture, because of generational curses, because of cycles of abuse. I should have remained in that relationship. But God brought different people in my life to set me free. God brought different people in my life to provide counseling and therapy. God brought people in my life to pray for me. God brought people in my life to show me that that is not normal, and that's not healthy, and that's not love. That's abuse. And all these years later, I think about all the survivors that I've gotten to help. Men, women, teenagers, young, old, kids, married, single, struggling, healthy. I have gotten to perform and share my story in so many different venues, but this particular night, I shared it with family and friends who had never even heard my story. And to this day, this poem is probably one of my favorites. It rings the most true to me because, praise God, I was able to create an image and a description of what happened in a beautiful way instead of something tragic. And I think there's a time for both. There's a time for the real and the raw, and this is exactly what happened. And then there's also a time to realize that what happened is not the end of my story. And that is what I always want Silence Isn't Golden to be about. Don't let silence be the end of your story. Say it with me. My voice is powerful. My voice is true. My voice is right. My voice is useful. My voice is helpful. My voice is loving. And my voice deserves to be heard. That's not to say that everything that we say, we can just be like, oh, I have free will, I can say whatever I want. No. When we share our stories, the truth about what happened, when we are telling, rightly so, exactly what went on, there is power in that. It is going to set someone free when you open your mouth and you say, no, this is what happened. Even if that person that is set free is you. Your voice is golden. And I hope that you can remember that as you listen to this piece. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you in the next episode after this.
It was the day before Thanksgiving. All was quiet. The skies were gray, and the winds brought a chill. I should have sensed it in the air. War was coming. My land was a place of prayer. Wherever I prayed was sacred. Wherever I stepped was blessed. We made a treaty that you would enter with respect and reverence to the sanctuary that was my inner being. But when you broke that, the earth within me quaked with fury. You contaminated my holy water with your oil. Didn't you know that the two don't mix? You chose my land because I was less likely to protest. Were you aroused by my tranquility? I laid down my armor and still you attacked me. Why were you intimidated? Is it because I am a mirror to you, showing you the black molten lava that boils within you? Who taught you to hate yourself? Domestic terrorism at its finest. Are we not both from the same land? Were we not both made from the dust of the earth? Our Father creating us from pieces of our mother's body. Somewhere along the line, you forgot where you came from. Come from a place of peace, they tell me. How can I, when my holy grounds have been trespassed and now all that's left is a war camp left in ruins? Where is my justice? Where is your punishment? I am a veteran. I survived the massacre of Thanksgiving, of Thanksgiving, and I still have the breath of life flowing within me. So do not touch my burial grounds, for they have been framed as having asked for it, as having deserved what came to them. A prophet once said, if a man loses something and goes back to find it, he will. Well, this is my reclamation of the land that was lost, of the temple that was destroyed, of the identity that was stolen from me. You might have erased all that was left of me, but today I take back my Thanksgiving and rename it Survivor's Day. Can you sense it in the air? Healing is coming.